Great. Start with a basic. William, Will, Bill, what do you normally go by?
Some people call me William.
William?
Some people call me Willie. I mean, just either one is fine. Either one of those is fine with me.
Okay.
Kind of depends on where I'm at.
All right, now your group. Give us a look at your defensive line. What have you seen so far from spring, fall, whatever?
Yeah, I think the big thing, just from spring to fall, the guys have done a really good job of getting better with fundamentals and understanding the defense and get down concepts. And they've been working really hard trying to just get down the techniques that we're trying to work now. And they've put in the work this summer, and they're doing a good job so far in camp. And I'm, pleased with where our progress is right now. We've still got a way to go, but I think they're doing a good job.
We've heard a lot about Coach Alley's how many multiple fronts he uses for the D-line. Do you have to have different guys for each one of those, or do the guys have to be able to play all of those?
Well, the big thing is we try to cross-train everybody. So, guys got to know all of them, and it takes a lot of teaching, and it's my job to make it simple for the guys. Coach Alley does a lot of multiple different things, and part of my job is to make things simple for the players so they can play fast and play aggressive.
So you have a bunch of guys, not a bunch, nobody has a bunch, but you have a number of guys who came back from WVU's defense last year, but is it just so different schematically that they can't carry over what they learned before, or is football in a lot of ways for defensive linemen?
Football's football in a lot of ways. They did some things differently, I believe, last season. I'm not really overly familiar with last year's scheme. I've tried to stay focused on what we're doing now. But the guys, since, have gotten here and stuff, they've just tried to dive in on what we're doing now and focus on, getting down the techniques, understanding the concepts and the plays that we're doing.
This is your first Power 4 full-time coaching job, right?
Right.
What has it been like coaching at this level and coaching this caliber of players?
It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. I've in my career, when I was a GA, I did GA at another P4 school back in the day. It's been fun to be, back at this level and, work with these guys and, just be around them and just get to work every day.
What was your reaction when Coach Rod told you that you'd be coming with him to West Virginia, or he asked you?
I was excited. I had been with Coach Rod now. I think we've been together about 5 years, starting back at Louisiana Monroe. And, we were Jacksonville State together, did some good things there. And now we're here at West Virginia. The ride's been exciting. It's just been really overly exciting, been joyous, and, continue to make a run at it.
So Coach Alley talked the other day about the standard being, I believe it was 3 turnovers per practice.
Right.
What do you do for the D-line to try to get them in a position where they can make that type of turnover production happen?
Well, we just talk about it every single day. Our big thing is, attacking the football. And the big thing in coaching is you want to put players in a position of stuff that's actually going to happen to them in games, So I don't have D tackles over there, covering the third and things like that, obviously. I got them, working on raking at the ball in the pocket and just doing things like that so we can, help with the turnovers when we get our opportunities.
Is Coach harder on you guys or the players?
I'm sorry?
Is he harder on you guys, the coaches, or the players?
I think he's an equal opportunist, if I'm being quite honest. The standard around here is a standard, and that goes for everybody. It's not just hard edge with, the players. It's us too, and we got to uphold the standard as part of the job. So it's fair throughout.
Does it take some getting used to, when you first started with him?
A while ago, I guess, but we've been at it now for a while, so it's just everyday life.
Cross training. That versatility, do you feel like you have that up front? You like what you guys
I do in certain spots, yeah. Some, we're able to move some guys around and do some different things and just kind of, have guys do different stuff. And it's good to be able to have that depth and be able to do that.
He's coming back from an injury last year. Just, I guess, can you speak to how he's progressing, also, learning the scheme, but just also physically how he's coming back?
He's doing well, doing really good. He's a hard worker. Can't say enough about him just as a person and as a player and just how he works and stuff like that. I mean, he's doing great. Enjoy coaching him, love having him in the room and being a leader for the guys.
There's always questions about depth, but how do you employ that? Are you looking to be able to substitute in the middle of the series? Are you thinking about rolling 1 or 2 guys different when the series starts? And I know you mentioned the cross training, so you can move people across the front. Do you have a kind of a preferred tactic you like to use there?
Yeah, my tactic's kind of just, whatever we need that week. It just kind of based on the team, because everybody can be different, right? So you just try not to just get locked into one thing. So just depending on what we need to win, that's kind of what we do. We just kind of, whatever it takes to win that week, that's what we're going to do.
Do you have a ceiling on the number of snaps you'd like to see from a lineman, or is, again, that different? Some guys are able to go longer.
I don't really have a hard ceiling on it. I just kind of, like I said, just, try to get guys in the best position and figure out where we can put guys and so they can be successful and we can be successful as a team.
A lot of that can go toward how many guys you roll in. Maybe you don't have 9, but if one guy can play 2 spots, then he takes up 2. Do you start thinking of a number and how to get there? Do you start like, all right, we can cross-train these guys and get to a number? Like, where do you begin, or do you even see the finish line?
Well, yeah, you always, when you come in, you look at, okay, who can do what, what guys have what skill set and who can, play a 3, play a 5, play whatever, just play multiple positions. So you always look at that, and I think it helps you build depth. And if you can cross-train multiple guys, it gives you even more depth. So we're always looking at that, always evaluating and trying to figure out best ways to put guys in position to be successful.
And then you guys are active in the portal, adding players.
Right.
Through your lens, are you looking for is it height, length, is it explosion, power, experience? I don't know. How do you go about it?
All the above. I think you're looking for the best player that you can possibly get that can help you win a football game. I think sometimes you get locked in. I gotta have whatever, but we just try to get the best players we can and play as hard as we possibly can.
I know you mentioned you kind of change maybe game to game to give yourself the best opportunity to be successful in the D-line, but when you're going league to league, changing conferences, does the training and preparation change for your group at all, or is it kind of football? It's football.
I think football is football. I know, we're in a new conference and everything else, but one thing I know about football is still called A gap, B gap, and C gap. So, we keep preparation the same, and bring our lunch pail every single day.
Does going against a high-tempo offense like Coach Rodriguez runs in practice, how does that benefit you feel like your defensive lineman in terms of conditioning and getting used to being on the field in the game?
I think it gives us a big upper hand. I really do. I think it, practicing against the tempo and stuff, gets us in shape. It's good for us to see, and, I think it helps us, sometimes things slow down for us maybe when we, get against other people. So I think it gives us the benefit of that stuff.
How much does the defense use a pure nose guard? You mentioned 3-5-7, but do you use a 1 much?
Yeah, we'll use 1. We'll use everything. So good bit depending on what we're doing. So it's multiple.
Nate Gabriel played a little bit here last year, especially towards the end of the year.
Right.
What's the progression for him as a young player? Like, what's the next step he needs to take?
Nate is a guy I've been pleased with as far as how he worked through the off season and just how he kind of changed his body and things of that nature. I think the next kind of step for him is just, being able to take the next step in his production and, being able to find a leadership role on the team and just being a guy people can count on and consistently and just be one of the core guys on his team.
Hammond Russell, he's played a lot of games, got a lot of experience. Where does he fit with you guys?
Ham's doing a real good job being a senior. Actually, he was the first guy I talked to when it got announced I was coming. So we had a good talk and things, and he's done a good job trying to be a leader for us and just being somebody that the guys can look to, to do things. I mean, he's stepped up in that regard, and I don't know what he was like when he was younger, but he's been awesome since we've been here.
Skill set fits what you guys want to do?
Yes, he does. He's gonna be there for us.
What about defensive linemen that play head up versus guys that play in the gaps? Different skill sets that make playing in either one of those spots easier for them or better for them. Like somebody's playing head up on the center of the guard versus somebody's playing in a gap. What does each one have to have in order to be successful?
One thing, you better be able to come out your hips. I don't care which one you're doing. I think that's kind of something that's common. We better have some guys be able to fire off the ball and generate some knockback up front, and that's what we're trying to get accomplished here. And then you better be heavy-handed. I think just attacking blocks and being able to control them and control offensive linemen and do shrug blocks and do those things. All those skills are, you know, necessary to be able to do either technique.
How have you adjusted to Morgantown? I mean, my knowledge, Alabama, Florida, Louisiana, that's your life to this point. What's life like in Morgantown and West Virginia?
Morgantown's been good. You know, it was my first time living up this way, but I've enjoyed it. I really have. It's been nice. The weather's a little cooler, so that's nice. But it's been a good adjustment.
Going back to your parameters, is it different for high school players? Because if you want the best available players in high school, it'd be really easy, right? But I guess everybody wants those guys. Do you project a little bit like this guy he can add power, he can add?
Right. Yeah. You know, recruiting, especially with the high school kids, you know, you're always, you know, trying to see, all right, this kid's might be 17. You're looking at him on tape right now, right? And then you got to see, all right, what's he going to be as an 18, 19-year-old, you know, kid once he's on campus. So you're always making a projection. That's just, you know, just kind of common in recruiting.
You know, like a starting point though. Like he can't come here if he doesn't have this by the time he's 17.
You know, not too much. You know, I try to, you know, because nobody's built perfectly, you know, per se. But I try to look for redeeming quality in everybody. You know, it's easy to cross a guy off, but who's a guy for redeeming quality? What can I use in a guy is what I try to look for.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach.
All right.